Hi everyone, I'm Dr.D.M.Swamy, working as assistant professor in economics, Bejar Government Degree College, Narayanaguda, Hyderabad. Okay, today, I want to discuss about the census and sample methods in statistics. Okay, in the previous classes, of course, we discussed many things about what is the statistics, what are the meaning of the statistics, what are the types of the statistics. Okay, like what are the sources of the data, okay, what are the types of the data, all these things we discuss. Okay, and also we discussed about samples and everything, population, census, sample, like frequency, cumulative frequency, frequency distribution. Okay, like all these things we'll discuss. Okay, so today in this particular class, we will try to discuss, we will try to understand what is the census and what is the sample method. What is the difference between census and sample? Okay, this we will try to understand in this particular classes. Okay, here census is nothing but total population. Okay, census is nothing but total population. Of course, a sample is the part of the census. Already we discussed in the previous video classes. Okay, anyway, in this class we will try to elaborate these two, okay, things, that is census and sample method. So already I told you, in the simple meaning, census is nothing but a total population, okay, which we want to analyze the data. But sample is nothing but out of the total census or total population, um, we are taking the information from the selected people or selected areas, that is known as the, okay, sample size, what we can say. So here census and sample method, okay, these are the two things we are discussing in this particular class. Already I told you. Okay, in any statistical investigation, okay, of course in the statistics, one is interested in the studying the population characteristics. Okay, what is population, what are the characters of the population, so what are the features of the population, how it was there. So all these things we have to try, we have to understand, okay, in case of the census. Okay, here this can be done either by studying the entire items in the population or on a part drawn from it. So when we want to know the characteristics of the total population, so this study can be studied the entire items in the population. Okay, we can that means we can take the information from all the peoples who are directly or indirectly involving these particular activities. So that is one thing. Or sometimes when there is a large data, which is not possible to take the information from all the stakeholders or the respondents. So in this particular cases, we will try to take information from the part of the people, the selected people. So that selected people may be known as the what is called okay, sample, what we can say. So that's why here, if we are studying each and every element of the population, the process is called census. So if we are going to take the information from all the respondents, okay, that is known as the census method. And if we are studying the only a sample or part of the people, the process is known as the sample survey, sample method, or sampling. Okay, so if we are taking the information from all, known as the census or population. If we are taking only some people or selected people from part of the total population, is known as the, okay, of course, sample survey, sample method, or simply we can say it is known as the what is called sampling also. Okay, that now we can see, okay, in this particular case, okay, for example, the Indian population census. Okay, when the government is mobilizing the population census, the government will try to take the information from all the people, from all the households. So it will take the information from all the households. But a socio-economic survey of a whole village by a college planning forum are example of the what is called census data. Okay, economic survey also. Okay, when the government is mobilizing the data, government related to economic survey. Okay, the government will try to take the information from each and every person, from all the people. It will take the what is called information, what we can say. Okay, that is one thing. Okay, the national sample survey inquiries are examples of the sample studies. Okay, when the national sample survey is mobilizing the data related to poverty is one of the example. So when the government is NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization, is mobilizing the poverty, so the governor that survey will take from the selected people. Okay, that is known as the like unemployment status. So all these are the example for the okay sample studies, even inflation also. Okay, when the CSO is mobilizing the data related to index numbers, okay, to estimate the inflation ratio. So here also the government will try to take information from the some commodities only, the selected commodities only. For example, if the government want to estimate the wholesale price index in our country, how the inflation is changing through wholesale price index, okay, the government will try to take around 696 commodities. Okay, these 696 commodities are selected commodities. They are the sample size commodities. So if the government want to estimate the inflation through what is called consumption price index or consumer price index, it will take around 200 commodities or 250 commodities. These are the sample commodities. Okay, based on the changes, price changes in this sample commodities, the government will estimate this much inflation was there in this particular month or particular year for this consumer goods or wholesale goods or like that. Okay, like that the government will try to estimate the sample samples with some activities. Okay, so but the census is nothing but irrespective of gender, of course, caste or age and everything. It will mobilize the data from each and every respondent. Okay, each and every respondent, so it will take the data. So that is in the simple meaning the differences between census and what is called sample method. Census is one thing, and okay, the sample one is okay, another thing, what we can say. Okay, anyway, so we will try to discuss in the detailed manner about the what is called census method. Okay, census method, that is called population method. Okay, under the census method, so already I told you, census nothing but complete enumeration method. So because we are taking the information from each and every persons who are involving or who are the stakeholders or who are the respondents. Okay, under the census or complete enumeration method, the statistician collects the data for each and every unit of the population or universe. Okay, universe is nothing but from all. Okay, it will take the data from all the people, so who are directly involving in this particular aspect. Okay, is known as the what is called census method. Okay, which is called census method. Okay, here this universe or total is a complete set of items. Universe is nothing but total, all, whole. So, it is a complete set of items which are of interest in any situation. Okay, so in any situation, this may get the interest. So you are going to take the information from all the people are involving directly or indirectly in this particular cases. Okay, the population census is another example of a census investigation. So already I told you the population census is one of the thing. And in 2014-15, when Telangana government was mobilized one data in the name of the Kutumba survey. Okay, so that was also called an example for the census population. So because that time also the government was taken the information from all the households in the Telangana state, okay, which may be one of the example for the what is called the population census is another example of the census for the investigation. Okay, usually this method is recommended in cases where the area of the investigation is limited and the requires intensive uh, examination of the population. Okay, particularly this type of the census method we are going to use where the population size is very small. Okay, we discussed many times that whenever there is a large data, taking the information from all that people is very difficult. It is not at all possible. So that is the thing what we can say. So that's why usually, okay, this method is recommended in cases where the area of the investigation is limited and requires intensive examination of the population. So the census method can be applied in a situation where the separate data for every unit of the population is to be collected such that the separate actions for each is taken. Okay, so the census method, it is going to apply. So where the separate data of survey of the population is collected, and also we are going to taking the information from all the units separately, and we are going to apply for the what is called the explanation of the what is called census. Okay, that is okay, one important thing in the what is called census method. So census method is called population method. Of course, census method is also called complete enumeration method. Okay, that is. So in this census method, so we are taking the information from each and every one separately if it is required. Okay, like the example, okay, the preparation of the voters list for the election purpose. Okay, so here also we are going to take the information separately. For example, MLC elections and teacher graduates election. And that means we are going to take only, of course, we are taking the data from all the people, but if it is the graduates MLC election, we will take the information or only from the graduates. If it is general election, it is going for all, like that. And income tax assessment, here also we are going to take the assessment from all the people, all the employees who are getting the income. Okay, the recruitment of personnel. Okay, in case of the recruitment also, we are going to take the information from all the people, okay, individually without any delay, etc. are some of the areas where the census method is adopted. So in all these cases, we are going to adopting this what is called census method. Census method we are going to applying in these particular cases. Okay, this census method can be used where the population is of course comprised of heterogeneous items. Okay, that is different characters. Okay, when there is no common characters, when there is a heterogeneous items or characters, definitely we have to take the information from all the people, because the information from A to B is very different. So that's why when there is a heterogeneous items, so where when there are the population or respondents are the different characters or the different effects, definitely we have to go for the census method. So then we have to take the information from all the people. So that is a different characters, heterogeneous item, nothing but different characters. Definitely we have to take the information from all the people when the people are having the different characters. So that one. Okay, though the census method provides a complete data of the population under the study, it is very costly and time consuming. So of course we know that the census method, it is going to give the complete information, the complete data available with us for the population of the study. But here the problem is, if we are going for the census method, first of all it is very costly method. It is more time, of course time we have to consuming more, and more money has to invest, so more energy we have to spend. So energy, costly, time consuming. So all these are the some important problems in this particular cases in this method. Okay, often this method is dropped down because of this constraints. So because of this time constraints, because of the more expensive, because of more energy loss, so we are going to eliminate this method. Okay, most of the times the researcher, the investigator is not using the population method. Generally the investor is going for the sampling method only. Okay, so why the investigator is not to prepare the population method or census method? So because the time consuming, more expensive, and more energy. Okay, it is very difficult to take the information from all, so it will take more time. So because of all these constraints, most of the researcher this study is not taking, this method is not using. So instead of this census method, the most of the researchers, they are going for the sampling method. Okay, they are going for the what is called sampling method. So where certain items representative of the larger group is selected to draw the conclusions. So in this sampling method, particularly sampling method, we are going for the sampling method particularly when there is a large group is selected for the conclusion, for the study, for the analysis. Okay, if we selected the larger group, so there we are going for the what is called sampling method. And if the population is having the homogeneous items, so that is the same characters, okay, then only the sampling method is enough for the study or for the conclusion. Okay, what we can say particularly. Okay, anyway, so okay, before going to this census sampling method, so what are the merits and merits are there from this what is called census method? Okay, so these are the some important merits we can see, advantages we can see through census method, population method, like intensive such study. It is a intensive study. Why it is a intensive study? Because under this census investigation, we must obtain data from each and every unit of the population. Okay, since we are taking the information from all the people, okay, further it is enable the situation to study more than one aspect of all items of the population. To give you an example, the Indian government conducts a census investigation once every year, every 10 years. Okay, the authorities collect the data regarding the population size, male, female, education levels, sources of income, religion, area. Okay, so all these things, particulars we are going to take. Okay, yeah, like each and everything information available with the government when the population census is taken by the government. So when the total information about the population is available with us, that data can be used for anything. For the suppose the government can use for the implementation of the welfare schemes. Okay, for investment purpose, for all these things, the government can use that okay information. Okay, and since we are taking the information from all the people who are involving in that one, so we can say that it is a definitely it is very reliable data. Okay, reliable data, the data that a statistician collects through a census investigation is more reliable. Okay, it is a more reliable, more suitable, because we are taking the information from all. Okay, reliable, representative, more representative. So because all people are represented directly, and definitely it will be accurate, it will be perfect. So this is because in a census that a statistician observes every item personally. Okay, the statistician is going to be observed personally. So that is the thing, we can say that it is one of the most okay advantages from this particular method, and it is also a suitable choice. Census method is a suitable choice. So it is a great choice in the situation where the different items of the population are not homogeneous. Okay, so if there are homogeneous, we can go for the sampling method, but where there is a heterogeneous items are there, population or the different characteristics population are there, definitely the census method is very suitable choice to use the collection of the data. Okay, the basis of various surveys. Okay, data from a census investigation is used as a basis for in every survey. Okay, it can use for every survey, what we can say. Okay, that is the thing we can say. Okay, like okay, so along with the merits, of course there are some demerits also from this method. Okay, so already I told you it is more expensive, it is very costly. Since the statistician closely observe each and every item of the population before collecting the data, it make a census investigation a very costly method of investigation. Usually, the government organization adopt this method to collect detailed data like population census or agriculture census or the census of industrial production only. Okay, so even though it is a more expensive, it is required. That's why the government will go for this type of. So otherwise, the researchers mostly they will not go for this type of the method. What we can say, and time consuming. Okay, this census investigation is a time consuming and also requires manpower to collect the original data. More manpower is required. So more time is required and more manpower is required. That's why automatically it will be very, it become a very costly. And possibilities of errors. There are many possibilities of errors in the census investigation method due to non-response, measurement, lack of preciousness of the definition of the statistical units, or even the okay personal bias of the what is called investigators. Okay, so this is the thing what we can okay observe from this what is called method. So like since there are more demerits from the census method, of course already I told you the researchers mostly will not go for the census method. Of course they will go for only sample method. Okay, the sampling method is the one in which only some of the representative items of the population are selected. Okay, and data are collected from, of course, these. So this sampling method is the one in which only some of the representative items of the population are selected and data are collected from these. So we are not taking the information from all the people. We are taking the information from only selected people in case of the sampling method. Instead of collecting the information, information for and from all the units of the population, we select a sample that is only a few items of the population and conclusions derived from the small sample are generalized for the whole population, what we can say. Okay, so we are taking the information from the selected people, and this information we are going to be generalized, so it will be automatically, it will become accurate, because this, when we are taking the sample size, we are taking the common characters for people, or homogeneous population size. Okay, sampling is a statistical procedure that is concerned with the selection of individual observation. Okay, it is the individual of the observation. It helps us to make statistical inferences about the what is called population. So this sampling is a procedure. This is one of the most important procedure. But here in the sampling, nothing but it should be concerned with the selection of the individual observation. Okay, so we have to very careful when we are selecting the sample population from the total population. So it helps us to make statistical inferences about the, of course, population, if we will select very clearly this population, what we can say. Okay, like what we can say, there are some important characteristics are there for the sampling. What are the main important characters of sampling or sampling method? What we can say, or sampling survey, we can say. Okay, in sampling, we assume that samples are drawn from the population. Okay, um, so they are drawn from the population, and sample means and population means are what is called equal. Okay, so we are going to assume that samples are drawn from the population, and sample, it means the population of sample means, and population means they are equal. Okay, the population and they are equal. A population can be defined as a whole that includes all items and characteristics of the research taken into study. However, the gathering all this information is time consuming and of course costly. That's why we are going for the sampling method. So we therefore make inferences about the population with the help of the samples. So because of the more expensive and more other aspects, we are going for the what is called we are going for the other things that is called sampling method. Okay, what are the advantages we can see through what is called sampling method? Okay, so there are some important advantages we can observe in this particular sampling method. Okay, it is going to reduce the cost particularly. So why it is going to reduce the cost? If if we are not going for the sampling method, we have to go for the census method. Census method is more expensive, already I told you. So that's why when we are going for the sampling method instead of the census method, definitely it is going to reduce the cost. It is a cheaper to collect the data from a part of the whole population, and is economically in what is called advanced. Economically, it is very advanced. Okay, greater speed. Okay, when we are going for the sample method, definitely the survey or the research will complete very fastly. Okay, so that's why it is called greater speed. Sampling gives more time to researcher for data collection. Okay, so it is quickly and has a lot of time for the collection of the information or information. So if you go for the census method, the lot of time will take, because we have to take the information from the many people. So it will take more time. So that's why if you go for the selected method or sampling method, the time going to be saved, and the money also going to be saved, and the detailed information also we can get from the sample method. The investigator, since the investigator is taking the information from the less number of people, um, The investigator, during the studying, a small inverse provides a detailed and comprehensive information. It will take more information from the people, from the what is called respondents. So that's why this method is very useful. And also the practical method. Okay, this sample method is called practical method. So the sampling is the only practical method when the population is infinite. Okay, when there is a large population is there, so of course a sample is one of the best method to collect the data. Practically it is possible. So because the census method is not possible practically when there is a large data, and it is much easier also. Okay, the sample method is very easy. It is much easier to collect the information from many individuals in the universe. And sampling saves labor also. Okay, if you go for the manpower, what is called census method, so we have to go for the manpower. More manpower is required, but here the manpower, more manpower is not required, the less manpower is sufficient. And the quality of the study is often better with sampling. Okay, even the quality of the research also will get very better through this sampling method, what we can say. Okay, the sampling provides much quicker results. Immediately we can get the result from this sampling method. Of course, we have some difficulties also through sampling method. That means there are some disadvantages also there from the what is called sampling method, what we can say. So what are the disadvantages are there? Careful sampling selection is very difficult. Okay, so when there is a 1000 population, of course we are taking around 200 or 300 sample size population. But who are the 300? The selection of the 300 is very difficult. If you are not taking the care when the selection of this one, so it is the data, the result analysis very difficult. It may go wrong. And experts are required for the careful study of the universe. The more subject expert is required when we are going for the sampling. If it is census method, even normal person also can estimate. But when we are going for the sampling method, definitely the expert is required to use this sampling method. If the information is required for each and every unit in the study, then it is very difficult to interview each and every person in the sampling method. Okay, that is. So that means when there is a heterogeneous items, okay, there are the different characters are there. So it is not good for the sampling method is not good for the use for the analysis. In the absence of true knowledge, sampling method, the result option may be incorrect or misleading. Okay, so it is going to be misleading. We can get the wrong result also. Okay, a complicated sampling may labor than a complete coverage. Okay, so the sampling may require labor than the complete coverage. A pure representation is impossible in most cases. Okay, the perfect information we may not get. That is what I am saying here. So through this particular method, okay, we can see these are the some important differences between census method and what is called sampling method. Okay, census method and sampling method, what we can see. Okay, in census method, see, these are the differences. Okay, in census, the census is a systematic method that collects and records the data about the members of the population. Okay, the census is a systematic method that collects the records the data about the members of all the population. But whereas in the sampling method, so it is defined as the subset that is a part of the total population, subset of the population selected to the represent the entire group in all its the characteristics. Okay, that we can see. And in the census method, The census is alternatively known as a complete enumeration survey method. Okay, the census is alternatively known as a complete enumeration, what is called survey method. But whereas in the sampling method, it is a contrast. It is a narrow. Sampling is also known as a partial enumeration survey method. Whereas the census is complete enumeration, it is called what is called partial enumeration survey method. So in the census method, each and every unit of the population are going to be researched. We are going to be studied. But in the sampling method, only a handful of items is selected from the population for the research in the name of the what is called sample. And the census is a very time-consuming method of the survey. So of course we discussed many times. So the census method is very time consuming. It will take more time for the survey. But whereas in the sampling method, so in case of the sampling, the survey does not take much time. Okay, so quickly we can complete the survey and quickly we get the, of course, the results also. Okay, and in the census method, it is requires a high capital investment as it involves the research and collection of all the values of the population. So that means it is more expensive in the simple meaning. But unlike in the sampling, which is a comparatively economical method, so less amount is required, more expensive is not required in this particular method. And in the census method, the result drawn by the conducting a census is accurate, of course, very reliable. Why it is accurate and reliable? Because we are taking the information from each and every persons in this category. But while there are chances of errors in the result drawn from the sample. So why there is some errors? Because we are not taking the information from all the population. That is the problem. And in the census method, it is not possible with the census as all the items are taken to be consideration. But the size of the sample, in case of the sample method, the size of the sample determines the probability of errors in the outcome. That is, the larger the size of the population, the less are the chances of errors. And the smaller the size, the higher the chances of the, of course, errors. But where census method, we cannot see the errors. And in the census method, it is the best suited for the population of the heterogeneous in the nature. Okay, heterogeneous in the nature. That is the when the population is with different characters. Okay, but whereas in the sampling, as opposed to sampling, which is appropriate for the homogeneous in the nature only. Okay, it is applicable for only homogeneous characteristics only. That is the point what we can see. Okay, the difference between these particular things. Okay, so anyway, in the research, the many people are interpreting that the census as the opposite of sampling. Census is opposite of the sampling, in which all the members of the population are taken into account instead of only a fraction. But whereas in the sample, we are taking only fraction of the total population. But the census is based on the sampling frame to enumerate the population. Okay, definitely the population we are going to take the based on the sampling frame of the enumeration only we are going to take for that action. Therefore, it is quite clear that these two quantitative research methodologies are different, but it cannot be said that one is above the other. So one is greater and above is lesser. Census method is greater than the sampling method, or sampling method is greater than the what is called census method. We can say the both are very important for the research for the research methodologies. Okay, the census and sampling. But here the only the point is why the most of the people are going for the sampling method. The only thing is the researcher, he will have the limited time. So with that limited time, he cannot spend more time to take the information from all the people. And the one more problem is the researcher or investigator will have the limited resources. When the investigator is having the limited resources, okay, when the investigator is having the limited resources, is not able to spend much money to gather the information from all the respondents. So that's why, so in this particular cases, because of these constraints, because of the less financial resources, because of the limited time, okay, the researcher is not going for the census method. Generally, the researcher will go for the sampling method only. Okay, that's why the sampling method is very, very most important method what we can observe in this particular cases. Okay, so but here the point is, if the population size is very small, of course census method is very better. We can take information from all the people with accurately, without any issues. But when there is a large number population size, definitely we have to go for the this sampling method. Okay, the where the time is going to be consumed, saving the we are going to saving the money, and we are going to energy, we are saving the energy. And where there is no time, so in that particular case, if we use this sampling method, we can get the result immediately. Okay, the kick immediately. So see, for example, now there is a situation, the coronavirus was there. Okay, most of the this drugs companies are developing this, trying to develop this vaccine. So to conclude this one, is it possible to take the census method whether it is success or not? No. That's why these drugs companies, it may be biotechnic or Oxford universities related to companies, or Russian or American based companies, whatever it may be. So these companies are going for the sampling method. Okay, so they are taking the information from the, they are selected some people, and they are testing. So based on that, they are going to generalize it is going to be success or not, like that. Okay, so that's why the sampling is very important for the research or anything. Okay, this is the about the census method and sampling method, so which is one of the most important using in the research methodology. Okay, thank you, Ananda.